Hello and welcome to episode 51 of the Player 3 podcast. I'm your host, Luke Croft. Alongside me, we have the always visually stunning Larry Hunt.
Hi there.
And on my other side here, we have he can mix you a nice, delicious glass. Whoa, spoiler alert!
Come on, man. It's a teaser.
He can fix you a nice, delicious glass of Pepsi and steal your daughter's heart, ladies and gentlemen. Doug Martin.
Babadoo.
And then over here we have Benjamin D. Hankins. The D stands for Destiny.
It stands for did not do the show notes today. I'm sorry. I did some of them.
You're fired.
I really tried, you guys, but I was cutting chicken because we're having chicken tacos tonight.
Well, today we're dividing your share of the money between ourselves.
He also
right.
he also didn't wash his hands, and we
accept
all
that.
now have
Salmonella,
melanoma.
because you can get that from chickens.
Bagok.
I want to formally apologize to you, podcast community. That's it.
That is all.
Who are we making fun of last? Activision. I'm sorry if my not doing the notes made you feel
Upset. I really am sorry for not doing the notes, all the notes. I'm sorry.
It's all right. But we are the Player 3 podcast. We get together every Monday to talk about video games, and we live stream it on twitch.tv/Player3podcast and then push it out on youtube.com/Player3podcast. And you can check us out on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, all of those various places. Leave us a review. We'll read it out onto the podcast. How we doing, boys?
Strong.
What?
grieving.
Why are you grieving?
This is the first time I won't be buying a Halo game on release.
When, we'll get there. We'll get there in a moment.
Okay.
Because I'm interested. I have questions for you.
I've got answers.
I'm doing. Today's been a pretty good day.
I got a feeling that
I
today
have
is going
to-
to be a good day.
I'm in the Super Bowl right now in our online franchise.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I am alive. I got to sleep in this morning. Just giving you a plethora of reasons why the day is happy for me.
Tell me more.
All right. Let's get this started like we get every week started with the releases of the week.
Releases of the week. Clap, clap.
Oh, hold on. Milky513's got to go. He's going to go home and watch us from the comfort of his own home and the comfort of his own underwear.
In the news.
Sweet. We'll wait on you, Milky.
Yeah, we're just going to sit here patiently. He says, before I go, though, Milky's wild speculation is that PS4 makes a ridiculous comeback and outsells Xbox One this holiday. And then after the holidays, Xbox One goes back to outselling the PS4. I have no idea what you're talking about, Milky, because that is the exact opposite of everything that would even be possible of happening at the moment. So let's move on.
Can you outsell someone who is underselling you?
What?
What?
By definition, yes.
All right, let's move on to the releases of the week.
Releases of the week. Clap, clap. Double. Whatever we call
Double
those
Jeopardy.
things. I already did it. That's why I said it.
All right. Releasing on both consoles this week. Booger Eaters rejoice. WWE 2K16 is hitting shelves.
Booker Eaters. I love that.
Is Champ there?
Did you guys watch the Frank call just for
Who's
celebration
Champ?
of this?
No, I just happened to put it on.
That question will be answered this Sunday night.
Hello and goodbye.
Ma'am, do you support
Yes.
the armed forces?
Diz, find the link to that. Put it in the chat. Everyone mute us and go watch the John Cena prank call video.
Well, we're going to be...
sure you've already seen it. We're not going to say anything of importance really in the next hour and a half. So watch it several times if you want.
Yeah,
Drop the John Cena YouTube link in the chat.
Oh, no, it's not censored.
Is it?
No.
There's no cussing in it.
It's
Oh,
what?
It is censored. It
It's
is
from a
It's
censored.
radio
censored.
show.
Yeah,
It's
it's censored. It's censored. Yeah, it's
from a radio
censored.
show.
Oh, yeah, they do.
There's a whole lot of cussing in it, though.
But it's all bleeped out.
This is a family-friendly show.
Drop it in the chat.
This is what my apology was for earlier.
No, it wasn't. You liar.
I'm just going to take that generic apology and apply it to whatever I do during this show.
Can we just add that recorded apology to the soundboard? You just hit a button.
Oh, man. Oh, Milky already put it in. He beat you to it, Diz.
All right. Milky now has Diz's job.
Yeah, that's true. Now if there's anything in it, we can be like, Milky put it in, and then we unmod it.
Wait, we
and
have
tell him
Moobot?
to unfollow us.
Oh, mods can put links in the chat.
Yeah.
Never mind.
All right. So we have WWE 2K16. My brother is really excited about that, but he has a buffet of boogers every night.
different
I'm not
sizes
big on
and shapes.
I'm not big on those games, but I love to just go in and create characters.
Yeah.
Just outlandish characters.
Les always makes fun of his 5-year-old son because of how ridiculous his characters look. He's
buddy
like,
of
"Do
mine
you think that looks cool, Rock?"
A buddy of mine made a Crota. He named it Crota. It did look nothing like Crota though. It was like but not Crota like the Crota from God of War. Isn't that his name?
Absolutely
Kratos.
not.
Kratos. Yeah, that's what it was. I'm sorry. I'm stuck on Destiny.
The D
He
stands
made
for
it.
Destiny.
He made a Kratos that had like duck shoulder pads. It was like duck. It was one of those things where you could. It was more than what they gave you in the game. You could like mod it, and it was like duck shoulder pads. I don't understand why.
So ducks were sitting on his shoulders.
No, it was a duck head. The beaks were just like
This is even
pointed
weirder.
out. And his
Yes.
mouth was open. It was strange.
I'm uncomfortable.
Empty Vials wants to play games with you, Larry. He says you need to get a PS4 just to play games with him.
I wish you'd play the games with me.
He doesn't care. He says, "I don't care about those other guys. You're clearly the best."
Look, one night, Empty Vials was the only person who watched Lair Hunt's Evil, and we had a moment. We talked a
Go
lot.
on.
You had to be there.
You need to get that mustache box I bought earlier.
Mustache box.
Oh gosh, dude.
All right, and then we have Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition. I thought this came out a couple weeks ago. Apparently it got delayed, and it must have gotten quietly delayed. But so that's coming out. Then we have Divinity Original Sin Enhanced Edition. This is released to overwhelming critical acclaim. Larian Studios' RPG Divinity Original Sin returns with a host of new and enhanced content. The cooperative adventure receives a console makeover with a new intuitive UI and dynamic split screen for co-op, as well as a plethora. That's correct, right?
I thought it was plethora.
No, plethora
A veritable cornucopia.
of new content, quests, combat styles, locations, and more. And then, this one's actually kind of interesting. Minecraft Story Mode Season Pass disc. So this is a physical piece of merchandise that you go that gives you digital access to downloading the episodes as they release. Minecraft Episode 1, Story Mode Episode 1 is the only one that's out right now. So you go buy this disc. I think the first episode is actually on the disc, and then you can download all the subsequent
It's a
episodes.
ticket for a ticket.
Yeah. I imagine the reason for this is because Minecraft is really popular among kids, and kids aren't really the ones pushing sales digitally, and so putting something on the shelf that they can point to for mom and dad to say, buy this.
I want a circle.
What?
Buying a circle. It's a disc.
It's a donut.
You don't want to attach a credit card to something a kid has access to.
As Michael has taught us. Mary bought it, man.
Mary bought it for me, man. She got me the 4-gig 360, man. I got the Black Ops on there. It's all that fits there, man.
I got 40 years of Xbox Live Gold, man.
How many years?
40.
That's an expensive purchase.
Well, it's not his credit card. Holy cow.
I'm very sorry. But did you notice that my text tone is Virgil from ODST? No, you didn't, because you've never played it. You turkey.
I have also noticed that you actually text me back on time because your phone works now.
Yeah, turkey.
I really like it.
Yeah, I get text messages. It's neat. It's probably my favorite.
This phone has a slew of new features.
It's my favorite feature about this new
It
phone.
can
I
make
get
it
my
receive
text.
phone calls.
All right, let's move
It
on.
has
to
a
the drop.
screen that lights up.
So this is everything that's releasing on the PlayStation 4 this week. Moving on over here to the drop. Good old Ryan Clements, former Podcast Beyond host.
Former friend of the show.
I imagine this is probably on both consoles. I just didn't put it in there. Alien Isolation, the collection, contains the full game and 7 packs of additional content. Discover the true meaning of fear in Alien Isolation, a survival horror set in an atmosphere of constant dread and mortal danger.
Additional content?
It had DLC packs, right?
I think so. I don't think any of the 4 of us played this.
Wasn't this game like
Maybe
40 years long?
Diz played it.
It was one of those games that a lot of people were like, this would have been good if it would have been 4 hours, 5 hours shorter. That's all I remember from it. There's zero direction. Classic.
That sounds like fun.
As we talk about horror games, what are you going to be streaming this week, Larry?
I haven't decided yet. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Man.
May I interest you in Alien Isolation, the collection?
If you were purchasing, absolutely.
Then we have Arcade Archives, Ninja Kid 2. Ninja Kid 2 is an action game that was released by UPL in 1987. Ninja Kun has new actions and weapons. I'm struggling here. And plans to overthrow Ashura. expect lots of excitement and the thrill of even harder challenges. Let's see.
He's throwing axes?
What's that?
Looks like he's throwing axes.
Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
Yeah. It looks like Shy Guy. Is that Shy Guy?
Yeah, it is.
All right, moving on. Mega Coin Squad, brought to you by Big Pixel Studios and Adult Swim Games. Mega Coin Squad features fast-paced and explosive on-the-couch combat. Take on your friends in 1 to 4 player matches spanning multiple worlds and game modes.
That sounds awesome.
From Adult Swim, it's probably just like a slew of colors and randomness and
PP jokes.
yeah.
Do you remember Rainbow Unicorn Attack?
Mm-mm.
Robot Unicorn Attack.
Vaguely.
It's a fun game.
Remember Nincat?
Is this their first game on a console?
I've never heard of anything from Adult Swim coming to consoles.
That's neat.
So, then,
I was about to say something about South Park, but that's not Adult Swim. That's Comedy Central.
right, yeah. Then we have MX versus ATV Supercross Encore. Rip, jump, and scrub your way to victory across more than 35 tracks in this vastly extended version. Only the Encore edition features the brand new rhythm racing mode, extra outdoor nationals tracks, and exclusive waypoint races in open world maps. Diz, are you a playable character in this motocross game?
Nah, I didn't hang enough.
Diz raced motocross during one of his father's many midlife crises. He owned a dog sled team.
Sled dog team, yeah.
He made Diz do motocross. He trained attack dogs, and now he's training search dogs. Cadaver dogs.
Bomb dog, but he couldn't get the license for the explosives.
Why did I wanted to ask you about this. Why could your dad not get a license for explosives? How many felonies does he have?
He has no felonies. He doesn't have any training in it.
Yeah.
He works in the coal mines, like, so that's enough, right?
It should be.
All of them blow stuff up all the time, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
They have a lot of explosives in the coal mines.
It's true.
That's everything that's releasing on the PlayStation 4 this week.
Whose legs are those?
Oh, these would be
Mine.
that's Stone Cold Steve Austin, my friend. All right,
My legs.
but you know who could beat him?
Uh,
John Cena.
I think Stephen Amell could take him.
Stephen Amell is awesome.
The J-Strom wants to know what is a plethora.
Okay, a plethora is a. It's if you take it.
it's at the top of the boat. I'm sorry.
It's a vast array, a large number of.
If you
things.
had a small
Right.
netted plastic bag and you had a ribbon at the top of the small netted plastic
Stop
bag,
listening.
and the amount of things did not fit into your plastic bag. Oh, I am?
No.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, he's quoting a line.
He's really getting the definition.
All right, and then on the Xbox One, the biggest release of the week, Halo 5. I want to talk to you about this for a moment.
Talk to me.
Have you read anything about it? Any of like the reviews and stuff that have been released because the embargo.
No.
I've heard a lot of people really disappointed with the story mode and with the AI of the teammates, especially, has been something of a sticking point. And so I want to say to you, if that is the case, I am going to jump over onto your side of the split screen argument because that's one of the main reasons they said that they were taking it out. So if the AI for the squad you're leading around sucks, I'm coming over to your side of being angry at this. When are you planning on getting this game?
When I can find it used and they don't actually get money from me.
Okay, so you're still sticking with that.
Yeah, I wasn't, and then. So, okay, I wasn't. Then I saw this epic stuff, these trailers with all this story things. Because, I mean, if you haven't heard me whine about this yet, viewers, listeners, my wife and I have been playing Halo together since we started dating in the year of our Lord 2007. And now we can't play together in this game. And so I wasn't going to buy it. And then, like, these trailers were awesome. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm on board. And then we heard about the whole microtransaction deal that they've added into multiplayer.
Okay.
And that dialed me back away from buying it again. And now my wife and I both really want it, but I think that I can wait until I can find a used copy.
I don't know if it's gonna be that long.
If the story really is disappointing, it probably won't be.
Because I do know a lot of people. I mean, as many people as there are that play just the multiplayer of it, there are probably a number of people who only want to play the campaign on it. And so I imagine 2-3 weeks you'll be able to find a used one somewhere around here.
Yeah, the story is equally important to me, and so I hadn't heard this, and it has me nervous, just because of
and
my
that
own.
was all just from one outlet. Like it was a bunch of people from IGN that were saying it, but it's people that I trust.
See, I think it was Brian Albert's review, and he was talking like he didn't seem overly disappointed with the story, but it was just sort of there was some constructive criticism in there, especially about the whole James like the Locke Chief dynamic and how I think he said 80% of the game you're playing is Locke. And the Chief stuff wasn't as fulfilling, he says. And, this is, of course, one review, so, take it with a grain of salt. But, I don't know. They're saying this is like twice the length of Halo 4. So even if that's the case, then you're still going to be playing Chief, a nice chunk of the time. And
Halo 4 is what, 6 hours long? 7 hours long?
Something like that. This guy was saying that the length of the Halo 5 campaign is 7 hours, but it was twice the length of Halo 4. That's all subjective, I think, in terms of playthrough times.
7 hours?
Right.
I can't remember.
I mean, like if you're playing with a bunch of friends and somebody in there is just skipping all the cutscenes and.
Yeah, if I ever find out which one of you,
It wasn't me. I'd never played the story before.
Wasn't me.
So I guess it was Seth.
It might have been. I don't know.
I blame Gary.
So
Gary.
Larry, I'll buy a Halo, and you can just buy it from me for $65, and then they don't get any money from you.
Yeah. You do buy an extra copy. I'm going to buy 2 of them from you.
I'm excited about that game. I'm excited about the multiplayer of it. I was watching some guys streaming it last night, and the pace of it looks cool. Bringing back the whole arena style, getting rid of like ordnance drops and those sorts of things. I'm excited about that. When it came down to it, like Halo 4's multiplayer is the one I enjoy going back to the most on the Master Chief Collection, and I think it has a lot to do with the pace of it, and the fact that you can start off with the BR and the. I always get it wrong.
DMR?
DMR. I always want to say DRM, but that's the policies.
I really like. I'm looking forward to because I think they said SWAT's one of the game modes included, and I love SWAT. And I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how the fast pace balance is. Because one of my rules in Halo 4 playing SWAT is don't sprint ever, unless you have to, like cover to cover.
Mm-hmm.
But this is all sprinting and hovering and boosts, and I don't know. It'd be hard to get a couple headshots in there.
I will say I'm not touching this game until you guys get it.
Yeah,
There's no point in me having it until you guys get it.
I'm gonna keep my ear to the ground tomorrow to make sure servers and everything are working because I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want the whole Master Chief Collection thing to happen again. I don't think it will. I don't think they can afford for it to. But I haven't been hearing any of the things that we were kind of hearing right before the Master Chief Collection came out, which was that. What happened was bound to happen, and so
like the subtle hints of Lord Sauron alive in the world.
Well, and even like it, just as much as they were showing the game at events, and that stuff wasn't working pre-release, and so, but we're not hearing that about Halo 5. But I'm gonna make sure that when people jump into it, they're like, yeah, it's working before I go drop money on it. But if I hear good things, I'll probably go tomorrow after work and pick it up. All right. So those are the releases for this week.
Releases of the week 3 times.
Big week. This is the time. You realize we're 2 weeks away from Fallout 4?
I know, dude. I'm so pumped about that.
Where are you going to store those lunch boxes when you get to build your town?
You didn't get to keep any of them.
You don't have to keep the lunch boxes, Seth.
Don't remind me.
No, every noob knows that.
I'm going to go ham.
The cheese up in here. It's going ham.
All right, let's move on to the news.
News with the podcast guys.
All right, this happened either day of or day after we podcast this last week, so this is a little bit of old news. But I want to talk about it because I have some new thoughts on this. Kojima has left Konami and Kojima Productions. This is from an article over at GameSpot. Hideo Kojima is no longer working at Konami in the studio Kojima Productions, according to a source speaking with the New Yorker. We'll get to that update in a moment. Kojima reportedly parted ways with the company earlier this month on October 9th. The source in question attended a departure ceremony on that day for Kojima, who has worked at Konami for almost 3 decades. We've contacted Konami for confirmation that Kojima is no longer with the company, but have not yet received a response. We'll update this story with any comment, and then talks about how he has a non-compete clause till December before he can go sign with anybody else. But there is a response from Konami here. Konami has responded to a detailed report which revealed that Metal Gear creator Hideo Kojima has left the company. The publisher suggests that he is still an employee and on a lengthy vacation following the protracted development of Metal Gear Solid 5. According to the Japanese publication Tokyo Sports, which has been translated by Kotaku, a Konami spokesperson said, quote, currently Kojima is listed as a company employee, end quote, and went on to say the extended leave was normal for console game development projects. Quote, currently Kojima and the development team are finished developing Metal Gear Solid 5 and are taking a long time off from work because the development time for console games is so long and fatigues build up. It's common for employees to take extended periods of time of when development is finished, end quote.
I can see that being so true with this game because it's so in depth. There's so much to it.
Well, and that is the norm. Like when you
yeah.
get done developing the game, you take some time off and you come back and you start working on your next project. However, everything we have heard about this situation indicates that while that might be true in some regard, it's only half of the truth. I think back to my favorite guy who worked at ESPN, a guy by the name of Bill Simmons, who went on a huge rant about the NFL commissioner and how inept he was. And he got suspended by ESPN. And then he got basically just unplugged from ESPN. Like they put a gag order on him. He wasn't allowed to do any podcasts, wasn't allowed to write any news or run the website that he started or anything like that until his contract ran out in August. And so Bill Simmons at the time was still an employee of ESPN, but he had no affiliation with them. He was still getting a check from them, but he wasn't creating anything for them or doing anything for them. And as soon as his contract ended, he moved on to the next thing. So Kojima very well could be an employee at Konami still, but it's just that he's under that non-compete until December. His contract's up, and then he can move on. So I think both of these articles are true, but Kojima's gone. And Konami's acting like the guy who breaks up with the girl, who gets broken up with by the girl, and he's like, yeah, me and that girl, we're just on a break, but that girl's like out in the club, giving her real name, giving her real number out to people. She has no intention of coming back, and that's what Konami looks like in all of this. Konami has done such. Can you think of a worse way for them to have done any of this stuff?
But back to your analogy, sometimes that girl comes back because she's out of money, or because she, sometimes, or you know, like she got mixed up with the wrong people, and she realizes,
Like Honey?
what?
That didn't she get mixed up with the wrong people? Was it some movie?
What are
Her
you
name was
talking?
Honey. She was a dancer. She broke up with this guy, and then they went and she was hanging out with the wrong guys, and then she came back to him because he was a good guy.
I think Ben just wrote a movie in his head. But no, so she gets mixed up with the wrong people, and so she's like, I'm sorry, I realized, but she didn't change. She only lasts for a very little time after that because she's been out and experienced things in the world, and she's seen new things that she wants to go back to, like drugs and
Just drugs.
just drugs, man.
But isn't that who Kojima's been? Like, hasn't he always been like, this is my last Metal Gear since Metal Gear Solid 3?
Probably.
Like, he always comes out and is like, this is my last Metal Gear. And then he's like, baby, just take me back. I'll do one more. One more. And then, but I think this is the definitive, like, last time.
And this could be the definitive last time. I mean, like, this is probably the most celebrated Metal Gear since 2. And it's just this huge. People call it a magnum opus, and I think that's what it is. It's this great amalgamation of what everyone's loved about all the games so far.
He's an English major.
And
I too believe it is a Mr. Holland's opus.
oh man, that's a good movie.
I've seen it in bits and pieces, but never all at one time.
It's one of those movies that you don't think it's going to be stupid and cheesy, but Hallmark gets it right sometimes.
Like October Skies.
I haven't seen that movie.
It's a good movie.
Isn't that the one where the guy with the kid like
Plays the guitar, plays percussive
Yeah,
guitar.
yeah. That was the first movie
That
I
was
watched with my wife.
August Rush.
That's what I'm thinking about.
Wait,
October
what am I-
Skies is about the guy who wants to build rockets, right?
That's what happens all the
He's
time.
from West Virginia.
I get those.
Yeah.
I get those two
Wasn't he
movies
from
mixed up all the
West
time
Virginia?
because when we went to sit down and watch August Rush, I thought we were about to watch a movie about a rocket ship, and I'm like, when is this kid gonna put down the guitar and start building a rocket?
I'm a rocket man.
That was the fun fact. That was the first movie I ever shared with Nicole, my now wife.
was
October
the first-
Skies or August Rush? Or a Beautiful Mind?
August Skies.
August Rush was the first movie I shared with a girl. Who
Wait,
didn't
Beautiful
work
Mind's
out
in the
with.
mix? Huh? Beautiful Mind is in the mix?
No,
I just put it in the mix.
Oh.
Yeah.
Isn't Beautiful Mind about Rain Man?
No, that would be Rain Man.
That's literally called Rain Man. You were gonna say something about Kojima.
Oh, I'm so
No.
That's what he said.
I'm so done with this relationship. It's like I've turned on Maury and it's the same couple on TV for the third time about like
You're that.
you are not
worried
the
that you're a regular.
I don't know. It just I've gotten to the point where I'm just really cynical about it now. I don't care at all about this. Like I feel like one of the parties is just milking this as like they're going to put out more and more information just to say we're still here, we're still relevant. Like I'm trying to think of what.
But what good is that?
It's not. That's what I'm saying. There's no.
Because I think if Konami had their way, all this would go away.
Yeah.
Like people would just stop talking about it. Kojima would go quiet. And I think Kojima's going to talk about this in January.
Well, it's a nasty breakup, so he wants to.
That was the best part about Bill Simmons. As soon as that contract was up, he went out and just started blasting ESPN, and that's what I'm really hoping for from Kojima. I don't think it will happen. I think Kojima's a lot different, and that whole culture is a lot different. But gosh, the stories that are going to come out about this are just going to be awesome. I want to offer you guys some new conjecture as to what I believe happened. We've talked about this before, but I was thinking about it today.
I love that word.
Conjecture?
Yeah.
Some wild conjecture. We've always kind of linked this back to what Kojima wanted to do with Metal Gear, and we said, many podcasts ago over at the old house even that this probably was that he wanted to do something different, and they just wanted him to continue making Metal Gear, so he walked away. But he was making Silent Hills. Like, he was doing something different, and he was doing something that he was passionate about, and Guillermo del Toro was passionate about. So it's not like they were just like, Metal Gear, that's all you have to do. So I'm starting to come to the conclusion that there are maybe two things that happened. One being that Kojima had already come out and said that he wanted to make a reimagining of the first Metal Gear Solid and do it open world. Mm-hmm. And that Konami was like, well, we want to do something with Metal Gear Solid 1, but we want to put it on the mobile platform. And Kojima wasn't having any of that. But the other one, I think, is much more likely, and it has to do with Silent Hills. It is known far and wide that a Kojima game has to sit incubating maybe twice as long as most other games have to. So you get PT coming out in 2014 at Gamescom, so it was over a year ago at this point. It's a huge success. People are downloading it, streaming it. Everybody is pumped about Silent Hills. Konami's video game division at this point is sinking, and they see this cash cow in Silent Hills, and they're like, we got to strike while the iron's hot. Mm-hmm. And I think what happened is that they went in, and again, this is just all wild speculation, and the fact that me and Kojima are very, very close.
Intimate relationships!
But they came in to Kojima and they said, look, we know that we gave you till 2017, mid-2017 to do this thing, but we need to take advantage of the hype. Let's cut back on that and try to get Silent Hills out earlier than that. And Kojima just wasn't having it. Like this he obviously, you got to care about something to put out something for free that you care about as much as they cared about PT. Like, and PT was a bridge to Silent Hills, and so I can imagine Konami was like, look, we can't wait around for 2.5, 3 years for this thing to come to the market, so let's get it out quicker. So that's my new standpoint that I'm coming from. Thoughts on that? I know I'm just throwing that at you.
I mean, it's a really cool idea. And it is entirely plausible. I just tend to kind of lean towards the idea that the man's got to be like burnt out, and he's got to. I mean, I totally believe just the idea that both of these companies, like Kojima himself and Konami, are just entirely frustrated with each other, because I'm sure that Kojima is a diva, has to put his face in every game that he has, and his name on every credit, and in every single, like all 50 missions of.
Lauren was watching me play, and she was like, wait, is it over? Because you know how at the end
Right,
of every
right.
mission it does the thing. She's like, wait, is it over? I'm like, no. And then I played another one.
So I
Credits rolled
can
again.
see this beautiful genius man being a huge diva, and I can see this huge corporation that is not run very well according to most sources, being really hard to work with, and not necessarily that's a bad thing, but I'm coming from the creative side and coming from the business side. Those two things are going to clash a lot of the time, especially when you have someone who is as creative and as innovative as Kojima himself.
And it's tenured.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I can only imagine the people that are making the decisions in the suits haven't been there nearly as long
Yeah.
as Kojima has. Kojima was there for, what, 27 years? 26, 27 years, something like that? Almost 30 years.
It was
I didn't realize that.
83?
Yeah, he's been there for a long time.
That's
started
longer
in,
than
like,
I've
83,
been a part of Earth.
I know it's less than 20 years.
1983, I'm pretty sure.
So, no, I know it was not that long because that would make
He started-
it be 32 years.
He started Metal Gear in 87, didn't he?
How long was Kojima at Konami?
It was I think it was in that article.
I think it was 27 years. Hello. 1986, so that's 29 years. So almost 30 years.
Oh, I was close.
So, anyway, not to beat a dead horse or anything. Let's move on. I wanted to look at these sales numbers for September, and we used to do this when we first started the show, and we kind of moved away from it, mostly because this is the NPD, and the NPD only covers physical stuff, and we're realizing more and more that people are going digital. But I think this month especially was interesting for a couple reasons. So this is over on IGN. We're not going to read the article. We're just going to look at these sales numbers. So these are your top-selling games from the month of September. We had NBA 2K16, and the way that this reads is the platforms listed is what it's sold on most, and then second most, third most, fourth most. So PS4. Madden 16, then Metal Gear Solid 5, FIFA 16, and then at 5 we have Destiny: The Taken King. I think that's interesting. We'll come back to that. Then at 6 we have Super Mario Maker, then Disney Infinity 3.0, Mad Max NHL 16, and then Minecraft. I wanted to point out a couple interesting things here. First of all, 2K16 was released September 29th. So it had the 29th and the 30th to sell all of its games. Well, it released 4 days early for people who pre-ordered. So 5 or 6 days to sell all those copies. And it beat out Metal Gear Solid. And, you know, coming off of the Kojima talk and all of that, like, I think it drives home the point that, like, Metal Gear Solid had an entire month to sell their games. It came out on September 1st. That the fact that, first of all, that series has a 5 on it is intimidating for people who have not played the other games in the series to jump into. And the fact that just the story and the storytelling that Kojima brings in is like, it's really niche. And I would have expected this game to be number 1 for that month as much as we heard about it. So those things were interesting to me. And then Destiny: The Taken King being on here is really interesting to me as well because
Being on here. Not even just...
Yeah, just being on here. Because this is only physical. Like, and this was an expansion pack that a lot of people who already own the game would have just went out and bought the digital expansion for it and kept the disc that they had for Destiny. Go ahead.
Well,
I may have not understood
no, I
something.
think I have an explanation as to why that is. In some circles, some of the stuff that you could get, you can only get if you bought it physical. Like they're only a certain, like you had to get a collector's edition physical to be able to get some of the stuff that you could get, kind of like pre-order bonuses and stuff like that. So I could see people like foregoing their digital copy or selling back their physical copy to get this physical copy.
Or, you know, you have plenty of people, I'm sure, that got fed up with the vanilla copy of the game and, you know, traded it in a month after it came out. And then, you know, take this great edition with all the DLC so far for $60 comes out. Why not go ahead and pick it up again? Give it a shot. I'm sure a lot of people did that. I was tempted to do it.
And there are still a lot of people who never, you know, you got those couple of people who never had anything.
Yeah.
Or the people that didn't buy any expansions and wanted to get the Taken King. It was a lot cheaper if you just sold your vanilla copy in without any of the expansions because you could get everything for $60. So that alone was a good reason if you didn't get any of the season pass expansions to go ahead and get a physical copy. So I could see why it was on here. I'm kind of with you as how high it is. I wouldn't expect it to have been this high on the list, but I look at the ones below it, and I'm like, I don't see any of them outselling it, so it doesn't really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then was there anything else from that?
Oh no, I was
You
just
got
speaking to that. I just wanted to speak to that
bring up?
Destiny.
Minecraft.
Oh,
How
I did see you put
we've
that.
spoken about it before. How does this continue to pop? Like, how do physical?
What's interesting
copies
too,
of
it's
this-
it's last gen. It's mainly last gen consoles. That's where it sells
I
the
mean,
most too.
How are people still buying this so often?
yeah. It sold best on 360, PS3, then Xbox One, and PS4. I have no idea.
Like, are people like getting tired of it and trading it in and then going back and buying it again,
You
realizing
can't
they
trade it
miss
in. It's digital.
Yeah, it's well,
No?
no,
This is
it's
physical
disc based.
Can you
These
buy
are-
physical?
Yeah.
Well, no. This also counts buying like the boxes that have the physical, the digital code in it.
Oh, okay.
This is just like store sales of physical stuff.
Right.
And so if it has a box, it's considered physical. I'm trying to think. Is it
Wow.
a disc that comes in?
I've never.
I've never bought a physical copy of Minecraft.
Yeah.
I know the Vita version was just a code in the box.
I don't think you can do it's a server type game, so I don't know that you could do a physical disc.
You could
Destiny-
install the
Destiny
game.
Well,
is
it'd be the
the
same.
way.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
But either way, it's one of those things that, like, I imagine that you can't. It's not an actual disc because then there would be so many used copies on the shelf that it would start to slip off the MPD.
Yeah.
You know,
I wonder too, like how heavy digital this game is. Like, how is it?
It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. Like, it takes up no space.
No, I'm just saying, like, not as far as space
Digital
goes. I'm
sales?
just saying, yeah, I would think that majority of the sales would come digitally and not like.
Yeah, last year we were kind of thinking that the Minecraft era was coming to a close, but clearly we were wrong. I mean, the
Yeah.
thing's still going pretty strong.
Yeah. It's weird.
Kind of attached to that, these numbers made me just realize how, although we don't talk about the games that are mostly marketed to kids a whole lot, like they still that's still a pretty big demographic. You got Minecraft, Disney Infinity, and Mario Maker caters to older people as well, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, the Disney Infinity thing makes a whole lot of sense. Like, we had our church's trunk or treat last night, and we had like one person dressed up as Vader. There were two kids dressed up like Princess Leia. We had my nephew dressed up like a stormtrooper. We had someone being who's the Ryu. What's his name?
Kylo Rain.
Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren, yeah.
I can never think of it. And one of the guys that was there was like, Star Wars is making a comeback, man. And I was like, it's going to really suck when this new movie sucks as bad as the original, the other prequel trilogy.
Dude, I'm just gonna say everyone hates on those movies, but
They
how
all
many
love-
people have them on their shelves?
Right. And, well, and everybody loved it when they first came out. And especially like
I love them
us.
now.
Because I remember when Episode 1 came out, and I'm not a huge Star Wars fan by any means, but I had a friend of mine who was. We went to go see Star Wars in the theaters, and I remember coming out from Episode 1 thinking, and I mean, I'm like 9.
Yeah, I was in
at the
fourth
time,
grade.
You know?
My
and,
mom took me.
And I was like, that was awesome. Like, pod race. Like, I knew immediately Jar Jar Binks sucked, even as a kid.
Yeah.
But, like, everything else about that movie, Darth Maul was awesome. He was terrifying as a kid. Like,
I was too young to grasp any problem with acting, and when you get down to it, the only big problems with that original trilogy, in my opinion, are the acting and
Hayden Christensen.
mainly.
and kind of I mean the way George Lucas writes some things.
I don't really have a problem with the acting in The Phantom Menace, but I was reading just interesting little side note here. I was reading like something on Facebook, a little meme, and it was kind of like a fan theory about Kylo Ren, and it's like shot at the end of the movie, he takes his helmet off, and like these big old fish ears pop out, and he's looking at that burned up Darth Vader helmet, and he's like, "Misa gonna avenge you, Annie." Maybe.
No, there's no chance.
But the point I wanted to drive at there was that Disney Infinity wasn't just like successful because kids, but it was successful also because Star Wars. Like, and Battlefront had 9 million people play for over 3,000 years of time. They put out an infographic today. They played like 18 billion minutes or something like that of gameplay. Oh, I wanted to point this out to you while we're just on the Star Wars thing. Only 700,000 walkers were destroyed in the beta. After 9 million people played, and 2/3 of them reached the max level. So a lot of games were played, and only 700,000 walkers were destroyed, which is crazy.
It's way out of balance.
But anyway, so I think that's why Disney Infinity is up there, because kids and Star Wars.
I want to pick one more bone with what your friend said.
What am I saying?
Star Wars making a comeback.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can call it that. It's getting way more popular again, but in the 20... How old am I? Am I 25, 26?
I have
I'm
no
25.
I was like
so
9 years old when Phantom Menace came out, so like, what's that?
You're 27.
I'm 26.
idea. You're 20. You're 30.
Are you sure?
31.
I don't know. Anyway, so like 17 years or whatever since Phantom Menace came out, there has not been a point when you can't walk into Walmart and get a lightsaber.
Oh, no. And I'm not saying it's ever, like, slipped into just irrelevancy.
Yeah.
But it does slip out of, like, the social conscience. And like...
It frustrates me when people refer to, like, the original trilogy of Star Wars as, like, a cult classic. And I'm like, get out of town. Like,
The original trilogy?
yeah, like, and people, like, I forget where it was, where it might have been on AMC or somewhere, they were referring to Jaws as, like, a cult classic. I'm like, if Steven Spielberg worked on a project at any point in time, there's nothing cultish about it. Like, Donnie Darko is a cult classic. Howard the Duck. I don't know.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
The other thing I wanted to bring up as far as sales go is this article over on, we don't use this site very often, but I want to give a shout out, Pasta Padre, a guy who does exclusively sports coverage. He's really awesome, so go check
Great
it
guy.
out.
It's Italian for noodle grandfather.
Well, I have talked to him a couple times. He is a really nice guy.
It is Italian for Noodle Grandfather.
Noodle grandfather. So apparently no one bought NBA Live 16. Now, you guys can tune in to this conversation just for the sheer ridiculousness of these numbers, but I want to talk to you as a sports fan about this. It reads, it was evident the NBA Live 16 was dead on arrival as soon as it released. Activity numbers in the game were dreadful, and ever since, even at peak hours, there aren't more than 120 or so people connected and playing. While it's difficult to get any actual sales numbers these days, we now have a true indication of just how poorly the game is done. The numbers extrapolated from MPD results for September on NeoGAF show NBA Live 16 is having sold just over 8,000 copies.
Wow.
To put that into perspective, I think 2K sold 1.5 million in the first 2 days of its release. So 8,000 copies in North America. That's compared to well over 1 million for NBA 2K16 in the same region. As 2K has been consistently growing, live shares continue to shrink, going from 2 to 3% of the basketball market in the last few years to now under 1%. Now, for those that are uninitiated with this franchise and kind of the issues that have plagued it for the last several years, NBA Live was neck and neck with 2K for years and years and years. In fact, it was probably the better game for years. When 2K5 came out, that was the year that 2K Sports kind of put their foot to the throat of EA Sports and said, we're going to sell all of our new sports titles for $20. So Madden and NBA Live are still selling for a retail $60. This game came in and undercut them in sales $20. I still remember I'm in the Danville Mall with my brother playing him in pool, and I'm like, if I win, you got to buy me NBA 2K5. I beat him, and he bought me that game, and that's when I kind of became a fan. Went back over in like 2009. When Tony Parker was on the cover, 2009 or 2010. Still a great game. NBA Live was still a very solid offering, but then it went defunct for a while. 2K got stronger and stronger and stronger. They tried to bring it back 3 or 4 years ago as NBA Elite. Everyone remembers the glitch that's in sports games where the guy stood at the center of the court and made a crucifix of himself and then just didn't move. That game got canceled. Then it relaunched again with the old NBA Live branding, and ever since has just stumbled out of the gate 2 years ago with Kyrie Irving on the cover. Was just a broken mess. Last year, I wrote a review that it was getting stronger. I played it some this year, and it's still a really, really fun game. It's not nearly as deep as 2K in either mode or gameplay, but like a game that is a game that is suffering because of the legacy that it's left over the last several years, and not necessarily because of the product that's available now. NBA Live 16, I think, is a very fun basketball game. It's a formidable opponent, and if they just had some sort of a fan base that could keep it behind them, that I think that they would make competition. They would be competitive in that market. But you can only slip so far down that hill before you just can't get any traction
Right.
anymore. And so I don't see this game coming back next year. I think this is just going to be a canceled project, and that breaks my heart because I want to see sports franchises with competition. Like FIFA and Pro Evolution Soccer have this kind of this competition that drives them to make a better product every year, and I don't want 2K to think, well, we've just got this, and they become the next Madden. Mm-hmm. So when you saw that, what did you think?
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, we've talked about it, how much 2K has gotten, how much more like coverage 2K has gotten since Live dropped out of the fight, kind of. And then when they tried to come back, we were kind of just. I think your brother got super excited when we talked about the EA reveal when they showed Kyrie dribbling a basketball, and they were talking about how they were going to make it a return. But I've always been optimistic. What's the pessimistic? I guess is the word I'm trying to find. I've always
Negative
been
or up.
negative. Pessimistic. I've always been pessimistic about them returning because I'm like, their games weren't. I mean, they were good for me, but I came into the franchise back. I guess. What cover was Kobe on?
11. Sorry, 2K11.
So
Who fell?
Your big wallet.
The doctor.
Oh no, David Tennant.
Was Blake Griffin? When was he? He was never on the cover of Alive. He was on the cover of NCAA, the last NCAA.
Yeah.
I came in when Kobe was on the cover of Live, and that's.
Oh, he was never on the cover of Live either.
Was he on
Kobe
the cover of 2K?
2K11.
Oh well. See, I can't even remember the last cover athlete that was on.
Like, and it goes back to like the Star Wars thing. Like Star Wars has never slipped out of the minds of people. It's always relevant, even if it's not at the forefront. Like in 2K, just was irrelevant.
Right, and they've had so much time that they've just kind of fallen down from that. I'm with you. I don't see there's a way that they can bounce back. There's just no. Unless they pulled a 2K and was like, hey, our next game we're going to release for $20, but they don't have the financial footing right now to be able to do that. I mean, you sell 8,000 copies of a game. I'm sure it costs them more to make than close to what they've gotten from. I mean, I'm sure they've gotten a little bit of money back, but I doubt they've come close. I doubt they come any more than breaking even on the production cost.
No, not even close. I was going to ask you guys if there was a franchise you could think of that kind of slipped into this abyss, but Milky brings up a great example while you guys maybe think of one. He says if you want to hear really poor sales figures, the actual sales figures for Tony Hawk's Ride, he's talking about the sales figure for Tony Hawk's Ride, were only 2,000 for the first 3 months of sales. He says, I was working at GameStop when that was released, and the second game was released to try and buffer the sales, and that sold worse. And Tony Hawk was that game that just kind of like tried to ride on the coattails of its previous success. But at some point, you just start stepping on your own coattails and tripping yourself up, and that's what they did. They tried to get way too innovative with that thing by making you stand on a stupid board while you played. Is there any other games you can think of that it was just like, man, they just wore out their welcome, or they slipped in and then tried to make a comeback and it just didn't work? I'm sure there's ones that exist, but the Live thing breaks my heart because I love that series.
I know I'm going to tick off some like hardcore dedicated fans because there still are some, but I would argue Sonic games.
Oh, absolutely.
Those got really cool in the 3D era, and then they got just not really cool.
Ratchet.
Super crappy.
Sonic 3D Blast was it Dreamcast? Was awesome.
And then Sonic Adventure for
Sonic Adventure.
That was my favorite.
Sonic Adventure 2 Battle was my favorite.
Seriously, because you go Super Sonic with Shadow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that was so awesome.
And the soundtrack to that game.
Yeah. Sonic Heroes was good too. It was that was when they started like.
I think that was their first step down.
That was when they started just. Woo.
Yeah, that was an IP crash, and I think everybody just mutually, like even Sonic fans. And my very first game I ever played was Sonic the Hedgehog 2, so I love Sonic, but you could just tell that Sega was like, this is all we got. So we're just going to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. To the point where a few months ago, if you remember, we talked about how Sega came out and apologized for the way that they handled that IP. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we want to actually make good games now. And like that, I'm not even exaggerating their quote. That was pretty much what they said. And great example. Can you think of anything else?
I was trying to think of a shooter that was with. Call of Duty, 'cause I feel like there was one, and I cannot think of it.
Oh, I know. What was the early on? It was the competitor of Call of Duty.
Counter-Strike?
Was it Medal of Honor?
Yeah, I'm thinking
Medal of Honor.
Yeah. But
Oh, that is a good example. And dude, I love the Medal of Honor. Not the last one that released, but the one where with the dude with the big beard.
Yeah.
We talked about it on 3 Topic Thursday a few weeks ago, and that has the greatest sniper mission in the world in it. But yeah, that's another great example.
I mean, I remember playing those, and they were a lot of fun. But it's just, and I remember them being like pretty popular. People liked them pretty well, and they were pretty competitive. I'm not sure what happened there though. I'm not where the fizzle came from, because they were always good games. Like, they weren't terrible. If Call of Duty just cornered the market, and
I think that's what it was. I think Call of Duty just cannibalized that sale and that style of the game. And we talked about it on 3 Topic Thursday of how that, and EA has said they want to revisit that IP again. And I think that would be the perfect place for them to be like, we're going all the way back. We're going back to World War II shooters because there's.
I would love that.
You know?
Gosh,
Because we're all at a point where, like, we've talked about genres and concepts that have driven themselves into the ground, and World War II was that for a long, long time. But now we kind of need that palate cleanser. Milky513 says, I would have to say that Saints Row is dangerously close to that concept of ruining its own goodwill.
Oh, after the whole like bat out of hell thing.
Yeah.
Gat.
Gat out. I'm sorry, gat out of hell.
And that
they
was
just
just
are
one
so
that,
like they're so like out there.
and it was one of the, like, I imagine it never took itself too seriously, and Diz probably knows better about this, but I feel like it just went more and more and more and more over the top to the point where in the last one you're president, right?
You're the president fighting aliens to don't want to miss a thing. As you're
Oh my
Don't
goodness.
want to close. And my dad's just on the couch. just
That actually sounds
crying.
awesome.
lighting up a rocket to blow it up and it's playing that song.
That actually sounds awesome.
All right.
I want to buy this game now.
Go
It
ahead.
sounds like you're about to move on.
Yeah, you go ahead, though.
So, was there a time when NBA Live was like the king of, like, it was the thing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In the early 2000s, it was really the only thing that people considered playing.
This idea of your legacy poisoning you to the point of not having a comeback, like, maybe I shouldn't be as worried as I am, but I am real worried about Halo 5 because of how horrible the Master Chief Collection was. And you know, if those servers are wrecked at all in the next couple of days, it's going to be bad news for them.
Yeah. You
And-
start to lose trust. Like,
yeah.
You're asking people to part with money. And when you release something that isn't complete, it's broken, or it just doesn't deliver what they expected it to deliver, people are not going to trust you enough to part with your cash. And I think it's legitimate, like, especially when there is such a big old debacle like the Master Chief Collection, that you ruin goodwill. We talk all the time, like, relationally, that you collect coins with people, and then when you have to have tough conversations or do things that aren't really well liked, you cash in some of those coins. And it's the very same thing with these games. Is like they have coins in their pocket, and yeah, a few mess ups maybe they can recover from, but if you do too much, you cash in too many coins, and people just aren't going to have any stock in you anymore. I think that's a good segue into this next story, and I'm not just doing that to be a jerk, but Jason Schreier wrote an article over on Kotaku, and I realize this is the Australian Kotaku page for some reason, but it's the very same article. I'm not gonna read this because people.
Super
first
long.
of all, it's long, and second of all, we can kind of summarize what it is that happened and fill in the details as we go. I encourage you to go read it. Diz, could you drop the link in the chat when you get a chance?
And I want to commend him on, like, this is a lot of information that you kind of could find, but he took the effort to track down some Bungie sources to confirm some of it, and he brought it all together into one article. I really liked it.
So, essentially, he confirms in this article everything that we already kind of knew about Destiny, and that was that it was something completely different before it was supposed to hit its original release date in 2013, and then had the story stripped away, kind of pieced apart, released to us in September of 2014, and then released to us in waves after that. And I kind of just want to get us all talking about it because there's so much of it to cover, and I'm not going to do it justice if I just try to do like a recap of it here in the beginning. So, what are parts of it that jumped out to you guys that you were like, I wanted to hit on that?
The thing that jumped out to me immediately is, and I don't have as much of an understanding of making a game as maybe I should, but I feel like a lot of this could have been avoided if the project lead had had his finger on the pulse a little more. Because it sounds like he saw this supercut of the story, was disappointed in the story just weeks from the release date, and then scrapped the whole thing and started over. And I guess I don't understand how you're the project lead and you get that close to launch and you're just now figuring out that you don't like the story of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That seems a little off to me.
It just seems hard to, like, from what I understand, this supercut that he keeps mentioning throughout the whole article, is just like a combination of all the cutscenes, which it sounds like there were hours worth of cutscenes. I think they say at one point.
2 hour video.
I think they say that every mission is like set up by like a couple minute cutscene, followed up by like a
3 to 5
like
minutes.
3 to 5 minute each one, and plus I'm
Which
sure
would
you
have
have
amazing.
As opposed to the 3 to 5 minutes of cutscene you got in the final game.
and just the subtitled kind of voiceover when you're in your ship, like kind of coming out of orbit or going into orbit, whatever. But I just don't understand how you could just watch the cutscenes and really kind of like back to back to back without the filler and really get. I mean, from a creative standpoint, that just doesn't sound good, and I don't know, like something's gonna be missing in that.
It's like if I want to play the newest Assassin's Creed game, I'm like, well, I haven't really played through one since 2. I'll just go find a supercut of all the cutscenes, and I'll understand the story of Assassin's Creed.
And if the Ghost served anywhere near the same purpose in the original cut of Destiny, a lot of the story was still probably given to you as you did the missions, and like those things aren't in the cutscenes. So like there's lines that connect the dots between the place that for you to be able to understand, and it's just it's a terrible misappropriation of resources when you have this story that people are voice acting for, that people are mocapping for, that people are programming for, creating AI for, and like you as the lead programmer on it, like don't like the lead designer for it, you don't know like where all this money's going, because essentially every element of that story is a piece of money that's being split up over a group of individuals who are working to realize the story that you're watching in this thing. And so to get, as close as they were to release and be like, oh yeah, that's not going to do it. And a lot of people in the couple people that they interviewed in the article said like that supercut did not do the story justice at all. It's like, how is that the only way that you have an awareness of what this story is supposed to be? Like, it still seems off.
Yeah.
Like, reading the article, it was like, this still doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. A friend of mine had a comment on that made a little sense of maybe the issue they had, but and I get this from the article, but I just didn't have it in my mind. It seems like maybe the project lead's biggest issue was the game was too linear, and it wasn't enough open world enough of you deciding to go to what planet or whatever. But that's a legitimate issue when it's sort of an MMO kind of game, but to do the hatchet job of cutting the whole thing up the way they did, and the way they described
it's
just stitching one thing onto another.
That's kind of counter to what he also says in the article, but because he kind of mentions at one point that very, very early on in the game, as opposed to the way it turned out, you could go anywhere from Earth to Moon to Mars to Venus to the Dreadnought, which was actually supposed to be in the vanilla cut of the game. So I don't know. I mean, it all sounds so confusing, and
Well, and to attempt to make a game non-linear, they did a terrible job of making the game non-linear.
Yeah.
That was their, because that's all you do. You can skip the side mission, like if you know what the side missions are. We didn't really know what that was at first. We just thought every mission was necessary. But there's missions that you can skip, but it's a very linear game if you're just playing the PvE. Once you get into the raid, it's a little bit different because you can jump from thing to thing and do patrols and stuff. But I don't understand how that would. Usually I'm fanboying it up. But I don't understand how you make that a legitimate excuse when you made the game super linear.
Especially when there's like so many examples of how to do the open world thing and still tell a story right. Like, it's not like Destiny was trying to step in and do something completely brand new in terms of like telling a story. And there's so many examples that they could have looked at to do it the right way. But there also needs to be somewhat of a linearity to tell a story. Like, you can't start at the end.
Yeah.
And it's something that has been refined in other open world games, you know, like Fallout, like Mass Effect, like Skyrim, like Assassin's Creed, you know. It's been iterated upon and like gets better and better.
See, I don't think this game would have been good with that anyways. Like, I don't think this game would have been laid out correctly if they went with like the quest system of Skyrim, where you jump from thing to thing and do your. I think this needed to be a linear game anyways. The way that they set out and place NPCs in front of you, and the way that the stuff builds upon the other thing. Like, if I go and kill Oryx and then I go and kill Crota, there's no like.
Because Oryx is Crota's father, right?
And he's coming to kill you because you killed Crota. Like, if I did it the opposite way, then it wouldn't make any sense. And so this needed to be a linear game. The problem that I have is, like, I'm like, why did they have such a problem with making it linear? Cut stuff out of it from it being that way, but then keep it that way. Like, you know? Mm-hmm. And I don't think that they should have changed it from being a linear game, but I don't think they should have done the hack job that they did on the main story. So
yeah, and I wanted to real quick just outline how they put their story together, since we're referencing it, but we haven't said it straight out. It's that so they had this story, they didn't like it, so they scrap it and start over. But they only they got their release date pushed back a year, so they had a year to put the story together. And so that was enough time for them to kind of make their story, in theory. I don't think it was. But it wasn't enough time to make these new levels. So what they did was they chopped missions up and, like, stitched them together more or less. And said, okay, so this chunk of this game can go here and this chunk can go here. And it really was just chopped up and rearranged. Mm-hmm.
And put it into Grimoire.
Yeah, the story was put into Grimoire. But the missions themselves were just... That makes a lot of sense when I look back. I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. You remember, we beat the game. We're like, everyone's cheering. I don't know what happened.
I did, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because none of this was supposed to go the way it went.
I'm going to say it's an absolute oversimplification of the problem here, but I feel like a lot of the issues over the linearity and like being able to, I don't even know if linearity is a word.
Well, I'm going to roll with it, though.
I like it. It sounds good. I'm coining it. That's my made-up word.
Hey,
my linearity. I think something that could have really alleviated a lot of the problems, because you do have, like, it's not an open world game, mm-hmm. because you have all these different worlds and maps that you can go to. But if we would have just been able to fly our ship from place to place, you know,
that's a lot of extra writing.
Well, it's a lot of extra coding and programming and all that sort of stuff. But there's something that never got brought up in this article, at least I saw. I feel like I read it pretty carefully. But about how this game, like, it would have been impossible because this game came to PS3 and Xbox 360 as well.
Yeah.
And it was, with it being a launch title, I kind of understood that. But if you were going to take a year off, you can distance yourself a little bit from those games and say, yeah, they'll get this bit of it or whatever, kind of like Call of Duty's doing, even though we're so far away, they should have just abandoned Black Ops on the old ones. But, you know, a year out, I can see them saying, you know, you can get this piece of Destiny or whatever. But that game was so limited by having to be put on those consoles, and a lot of the creative things that could have been done to make the story work, to make the open world concept work, just were impossible to do, because the PS3 and Xbox 360 couldn't handle it. And I was a little surprised that that didn't come up, right? In it?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm just making sure I didn't miss it.
I had another point I want to make, but I want to make sure I don't step all over your point. Did you feel like you adequately made your point?
I mean, yeah. I really, this story, ever since we kind of caught the rumors from, you know, back in one of the original podcasts that we did, this story sounds so great, and it just seems like a travesty that they kind of, what this article goes into about how certain characters were either dropped altogether or kind of rebranded into something else. Like they talk about Rasputin, kind of the AI war mind in this universe, who is this big machine that listens to classical music for some reason. But they talk about one mission where you have to go to the Dreadnought and rescue him, and he's an exo, he's a person, kind of a robot man. And like you go and rescue him and take him back, but then you kind of find out later that he's just a puppet being controlled by the real war mind. Like the story sounds really intricate and like just really great. They didn't really mention, I don't think, anything about that Traveler being bad angle, something like that. That was a theory at some point. But that sounded really cool. I mean, I'm thinking maybe the Supercut just sounded really, just kind of looking at it from afar, kind of just at the cutscenes. Maybe it seemed a little convoluted. But it was one of those things where if you actually played the game, like I can't imagine playing an Assassin's Creed game and just watching the cutscenes, or a Metal Gear game and just watching the cutscenes and getting the story out of it. That's just not how it works. It's interactive media.
Yeah.
I don't know. Talk to me, Ben.
Well, and my whole thing with it is I am terrified at how good this game could have been, because I love this game right now. I think I mean it's one of the games that I have a hard time getting out of my console because I want to just play it all the time. And like I feel like my life would be. I'm almost glad that it wasn't where it was, because I feel like my life would be consumed with this game if it was the way it would have been, the way that it should have been originally. Like I can't imagine year one getting all of the content we have now and the Dreadnought. Like it's crazy to me to think, and it's a weird thing to want to have it but not want to have it. But I would like to. I'm glad kind of that it got chopped up a little bit, because it alleviated me from having some tough conversations with people and quitting my job.
And I don't want to launch too much into complaining about how they handled it, but I do want to go back to the very beginning and their argument. When people managed to glitch into these areas and they made the argument, those are just placeholders. We haven't designed those yet.
Yeah.
Clearly, that was not true.
And the fact we downloaded the first expansion in all of 10 seconds and were able to play it.
I remember it was maybe a couple of months ago. It seems like it was around conference season this year that I want to say it was either Colin and Greg or the guys on Beyond were talking about meeting people that were working on Destiny back years ago, and they use this as an example, and I'm not sure if it was just a kind of random thing they thought of, or if this actually was an encounter. But they were talking about some guy who was designing Jupiter back 5 years ago for Destiny, and like, ain't no Jupiter in that game.
Yeah, and I understand a lot of that stuff. Like, at the beginning, you just kind of put it all out there, and whatever makes it, makes it. But I think the biggest problem I had in this article was just the very clear indication we got that they took pieces of this game and just decided to sell it to us in phases. Mm-hmm. And that's the issue I have, and it's the reason I'm going to really have a hard time ever wanting to buy the next Destiny thing, because like that just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And not to open up that whole can of worms again, I think but this is just that final nail in the coffin of like, all right, we're not speculating about it anymore. Like, this is what happened.
And I think that gets to really the biggest issue. I do think all this could have been avoided if the project lead had his pulse on the story, or his finger on the pulse of the story at all, because it sounds like he was completely detached from it. But the bigger issue is once they had this problem, they wanted to resolve it. There was a lot of pressure put on them to still be making money from Activision. And the writer of the article made the point that this was, at the time that Bungie got in bed with Activision here, it was fresh off of Infinity Ward and their big struggle to get out of Activision's clutches. And we knew what kind of company Activision was. And it was kind of dumb of them to get involved with this particular group. Yeah. And we know that Activision's going to be grubbing for your money, and that's just how things are going to be.
Right. Yep. All right. Moving on. Enough said about that. We talk about Destiny all the time.
Yep.
So if you want any more of our thoughts on Destiny, just go listen to really any other podcast. Next item on the list, several games went gold this week, and I want this to kind of launch us into another topic. But Need for Speed went gold. That's releasing on November 3rd. The reboot of that franchise requires an online connection. Fallout 4 is releasing November 10th. That went gold. And then Just Cause 3 is releasing on December 1st. That went gold this past week, too. We are 2 months away from the beginning of 2016, and we still have a slew of games coming out. What are you guys most excited about for the rest of 2015? Let us know in the chat as well. Let's start here.
Fallout 4. I'm so excited about this game. I don't know why today I thought that it had an online thing. I guess it's never had online.
I think you
but-
probably heard the like building your base up thing and thought there was some multiplayer.
But
aspect to that.
I'm so pumped about that. Like that's the thing that makes me the most excited. We've never really had a base in Fallout that I can remember. Like you've had places that you stayed that. I mean, your home in Megaton was kind of like a base, I guess, and like
But nothing like customizable,
Right.
Something that you can really make yours.
And that's so exciting. Like I'm so pumped about that.
That's always one of my favorite aspects in games. Like even when you only have like limited control, like in Assassin's Creed. I remember like falling in love with Assassin's Creed 2, in great part because I could go around and hunt down paintings and stuff for my and build expansions onto my my manor.
Yeah, I just can't think of a game where I have. Like you have really, I don't know. It's pretty like extensive control over what you turn your area into. Like they were putting like walls up and stuff. Like we've never I know, man. We've never had that before. It's always been like you buy like Skyrim, you get a house and you buy a package for your house, and it's like that's what you do. And it like this was like really really intense, I guess. And it's funny that I'm not even like worried about the story. I'm just really pumped about my base. But that's just huge to me.
It adds purpose to the scavenging.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the cool thing is like, I got all these deflated balloons that would just be junk otherwise, but now I can use them to build something for my base.
Yeah.
And I know that's what you're all about. Like when we talked in episode like 5 or 6 about a game you wanted to develop, you talked all about like a zombie apocalypse game where you got to scavenge and like that stuff mattered.
Yeah.
And I think
me.
that's cool.
That's all me.
Oh, Larry has gone,
Larry is
gone
ducked
away.
out.
It's okay because I will fill that void here because we kind of have the same game and Halo 5. I'm really excited for it. I could be let down. It's happened before, too many times. But I'm just really looking forward to seeing what the story is. I mean, it's been so hyped, and that's what worries me so much. Like I've seen the trailers they came out with basically kind of almost like a prequel series featuring Jameson Locke, who I didn't even realize was Jameson Locke until much after basically, yeah. It's just like I'm really anxious to see this story kind of continue to play out, and it's been so long. It seems like I'm gonna play this game. I feel like and want to start buying the books again and kind of getting back into the expanded universe. And really, Halo just has so much lore to it, and I think it's been done a lot better than Destiny has done things. Like I really like going in and reading Grimoire cards now, things like that. But going back and kind of, I think around the time the Master Chief Collection came out last year, I started buying the original like Halo novelizations by whatever his name was, like the Fall of Reach and the Flood and all that. And Fall of Reach was just awesome, and kind of whichever one the third book was, I think that kind of played out between Halo 1 and Halo 2.
Yeah.
But especially now, like those books are relevant. I think Fall of Reach was where you're talking about Blue Team, like the kind of Master Chief's core guys that are back in this game. They've been out there and about willy-nilly doing whatever they're doing. They're a team again. Some people are saying again in these reviews that really dynamic isn't covered like it should be, but it's still really going to be really awesome, I think, just to see it play out and just kind of see those characters come to life, no matter how well it's done.
Well, I'm going to let you go because you're right there.
Yeah. Halo 5, begrudgingly. And I go back and forth. You ask me next hour, it'll be different. So
In the game or the begrudgingly part?
in the game,
Oh, okay.
like sometimes I want it, sometimes I don't. It just depends. And I'll be more solid once I can look at some solid people who've had a lot of playtime with this. But right now I'm like, I've got high hopes for the story, but it also sounds like maybe the story's not going to be what I thought it was going to be. So I'm just kind of wait and see. But the only other game I'm really excited for this year, usually we get to this time of year and I'm like, there's not enough money for me to buy all the games I want. But the only other game I'm really excited for is Star Wars. So not a lot of hype for me this holiday season.
The thing I'm most excited about with Halo 5 is it's going to be a motivating thing for the 4 of us to get on and play together, play something together.
I'm really excited for Warzone.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think I would be, but the closer it comes, and especially after that trailer where you're running down the hill in the snow, that's how I imagine Warzone. It's just this constant onslaught of whatever. You're fighting other guys, you're fighting NPCs.
I love
think
that.
I was reading what the objective is. You can either get to whichever team gets to 1,000 points first, and you get points from killing other team members or killing NPCs, or by destroying the other team's base. And you have I think you have boss NPCs almost in there too, like super strong hunters. Those are the big blue guys, right? The hunters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just shoot out of their arm.
Yeah, but I don't know. It sounds
Colony
like
of eels.
Sounds like a weird wild ride. A colony of eels. Yeah, it is because they're like I thought they were worms.
Yeah.
Something like that. Something
Worm-esque
weird and slimy.
creatures. Those orange things.
They're kind of like a bunch of.
Yeah.
They don't really. You can't really see it until Halo 4,
Yeah.
and even then it's just kind of with the graphics. But they're basically the hunters, the big blue guys with the shields, shoot the big green plasma guns, or just like a whole bunch of worms that kind of collectively come together and create this bigger organism.
Earthworm Jim Redivide
It's gonna be chaos. That's gonna be just. You got other people trying to kill you while you're killing NPCs, while you're trying to just protect your
Sounds
base.
awesome.
It's gonna be so much chaos.
That sounds awesome. Now I want to go buy it right now.
Let's do it.
Um,
Well, this has been the podcast. Bye.
So for me, I'm excited about Halo 5, but I'm never really. I've begun to realize if there's two things within a game that can divide my attention, I'm gonna just migrate to one every time I get on. So Master Chief Collection, I was so excited to get in and be able to play all 4 of the campaigns, but I just got attached to multiplayer again, and every time I turned it on, I just wanted to play the multiplayer. And so I imagine Halo. I'm gonna love Halo 5, but I'm always gonna want to play multiplayer. That's just what I want to do.
Yeah.
So every time I watch videos for Just Cause, and Milky 513 said this was his as well, for Just Cause 3, I get really excited about that game. One of my favorite games from last year was Sunset Overdrive, because it was just such a change of pace. It didn't take itself seriously. It was all about just how much chaos you can create. And Just Cause looks like a more realistic. I've never played one or two, but it looks like just a more realistic kind of chaos creator, where you can go and you can blow stuff up and pull stuff down and just wreak havoc in the world. And the world's apparently huge, one of the biggest that's ever been created in video game history. And I want to jump in there and see what it's all about. And the more I read about it, the more it's the point of this game is to break things and to blow things up. And I'm like, sometimes you just need that.
And it's 100% destructible, isn't it? And
Yeah.
everything destructible.
Yeah, everything's destructible, and it's sometimes you just want to come home and not have to worry about moves you're making on a sports franchise, or keeping up with some really in-depth story in a game that you're playing, or playing multiplayer, because I always stress out when I do that because I want to be great and I'm not. And just come home and blow some stuff up. So I'm really looking forward to that.
It says the map is 400 square miles.
The map is 400 square miles. It's huge. I'm going to blow up every square inch of that. It's going to be great.
That would take you
Yes.
a long time.
Do
Is it
it.
scale?
Do it.
Is it the scale?
Do it.
It said that the setting is similar to Just Cause 2, but with 400 square miles of map.
I mean,
400 square
how?
miles. So you're
That seems
striving.
so much.
Well, I imagine you can fast travel, and it's all about just
You can fly and
yeah,
stuff
you
too
can
in there,
fly,
right?
you can do all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
There's all
okay.
kinds of
I was
traversal
gonna say
options.
because you're
400 miles as the crow flies.
just imagine walking 400 miles. It's a long game. It's gonna be next year. You're still playing this
200
game.
by 200.
You can still be playing. You beat to the end of the map by next year.
No, I imagine there's plenty of ways to quickly get around it. Yes. No, you said do it.
I'm gonna have to jump into the Syndicate review here soon.
Okay, well, we're going to move on to our reviews. We've got reviews for you. We're going to come back to – I just touched you. We're going to come back to your thing. He's got to go, though. He's got somewhere he's got to be. And he got a chance to play Syndicate, and I want him to have a chance to talk about some Syndicate.
I just don't want him to leave. That's what.
I appreciate that. I love. Oh,
I'm sorry. Seth,
talk to me.
no, you talk to me
We haven't done this in a while.
about Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
I love Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I after Unity, I mean, we've been talking about it in the kind of the lead up month or two, occasionally, about just how kind of some of us are excited about this game, some of us haven't been, some of us just don't care. I don't know if I would call this a return to form, because it's very similar, but it's very different from many other Assassin's Creed games. But after Unity, it's very refreshing to see something that so far for me has actually worked. I think I'm 7 hours into the game, and so far I haven't had one hiccup other than the control issues that come with such freedom of movement. And it's happened in every Assassin's Creed game since day one. You try to jump onto a post and you end up kind of sidling up against it or something or kind of stepping up and stepping back down. But that's par for the course. I mean, you can't ask for perfection. You can, but you'll never be happy. The story so far, I'm loving it. It's great. It's not one of the most in-depth so far, but it's kind of just one thing that I've kind of liked and not liked about past Assassin's Creed games. Black Flag did it similarly to this game, but in maybe like 3, where you're playing as Connor and you start off as a little Native American boy, and you kind of have to grow up, and the tutorial is like 3 or 4 chapters long, and only then do you become an assassin. Only then do you know all the things that you need to know to get into the world and really dive in. I think Unity, you start off as a little kid, and you have to do those little missions where your father dies. And this game, you start off, you can consider this a spoiler if you want to, but I don't think so. It's the very first mission. You and your sister are assassins, and you're doing assassin stuff right off the bat.
So at this point, they realize, like, okay, that people have probably played Assassin's Creed.
Right. Most likely. And, I mean, there's you don't really have any of they did this a little better than Unity, but kind of differently than they've done it before that, kind of in terms of the backstory, the kind of the story that's happening in the modern day world that we live in today. There's a little bit of that, but it's mostly in cutscenes that I've seen so far. There hasn't been any gameplay. I think that's cool. It's not distracting. You're kind of laser focused on Evie and Jacob, and I like that a lot. The sandbox is awesome, I think. We tried to watch a little bit of it earlier, but the thing about sandboxes the thing about open world games is that you can get on Twitch and try to watch someone do whatever they're doing, but they're going to be doing some weird stuff, like seeing how many people they can fit in a stagecoach and how they appear when they're in the stagecoach.
And trying to run it into water when the game is clearly designed.
Yeah, like people that are bug testing and stuff like that, which is kind of cool to hear the final result of, but it's really boring to watch. This game is great. I think one thing that it does, it's very derivative, but I really like a lot because other people have taken from Assassin's Creed plenty, I'm sure. There's a little bit of Arkham in there, the Arkham games. You've got your grappling hook that kind of lets you just get around the world so much easier. You can use it as a zip line. You can use it to scale tall buildings and 2 or 3 little leaps. Grand Theft Auto, the stagecoach. I think it's so much fun to just be running around Victorian London and press O on my PlayStation, and all of a sudden I'm punching a guy and pulling him out of a stagecoach and jumping in and riding off into the night. Things are very destructible in the environment too. Like you can't run into a building and chip like the stone, of course, but you can like run through little like small trees and little, I don't know what you call them, but little chains and stone blocks that are like kind of against the sidewalk, kind of like primitive guardrails. Just crashing through those. Your stagecoach is destructible whenever you steal one, so you're kind of banging into things and chipping. The wheels start to wobble a little bit as you go along. The game is gorgeous. I really like it a lot, and like I said, I haven't had any problems so far in terms of functionality. So, I'm just really happy so far. My review in a word. I'm happy. However you want to say it. I'm just satisfied so far with this game. It's not too much. One of the things that I loved and hated about Unity is that there was so much to do in the map. But I remember times kind of pulling up the map and seeing how many collectibles there were or how many missions there were, and it was almost too much. In fact, it was too much because I didn't get nearly as much out of Unity as I did many other Assassin's Creed games. This, I wouldn't say offers less, but it does offer less. Like you can look, we looked at the map earlier, and there are kind of almost sparse little things around, like little icons, things to do. But it's enough to keep you occupied for hours and hours and hours on end. But it's not enough to feel like it's a chore, I think, to get everything done. I'm really happy with this. I like the vision. I like the functionality. I like everything that I've done so far. I can't wait to see where the rest of it goes.
Awesome. I'm glad you're happy with it, man. I always love when Assassin's Creed comes out and it's good for your sake.
6 out of 10. What about again?
What?
That is not a final review score. All right. Well, thank you for that, sir. Drew 1234567890123
Wow, that's a big name.
wants to know PS4 or Xbox One, whatever your friends play on, and whatever has the exclusives you want to play, buddy.
Yep.
Pretty much.
3 of us own both of them, and we love both of them. And one would have both of them if he had the means to.
Yeah. If Taco Bell would just give me my
Text that
PS4, I
code.
know I'm winning.
Text that code.
I have been.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
The same one.
Well, you can. They have one
Oh,
code
really?
now until November. You can text in. and
Really?
try to win
Once a day.
PlayStation. Yep, once a day.
What is it?
I mean, I don't know it off the top of my head. I'll give it to you later.
I won't give it to you later because that's one.
Well,
more
I'll give you
chance.
the.
I'm
I'll give you
kidding.
the PlayStation. I'll give
Yeah,
you my
we're
black
trying to
one.
collectively win it for you.
Yeah, I'm not giving you the gold one. I'll give you the black one.
That's fine.
Drew, stick around for the after party lounge in a few minutes, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. So, I got a chance to play 2 games this week that I wanted to quickly touch on. One, I started in on the Nathan Drake collection. This was I'm part of that 80% of PS4 owners that never really played the original trilogy, and so getting a chance to play these 3 before Uncharted 4 comes out is really exciting for me. I did play Uncharted 1 on PlayStation Now, about a third of it probably.
Did you?
And and one of the things I really appreciate about the Nathan Drake collection is that they created a uniform control scheme, because there are quirky things, especially about 1 where like you had to use the 6-axis to throw grenades and do that sort of stuff, and it was just really clunky and really unresponsive, and so they took that out and just mapped it to a button and allowed you to do that. The game's gorgeous in 1080p 60 frames per second, and it's other than that though, it's really untouched from what I got a chance to play of the original first one. And so I don't really have a review and a word for that. When I finish the game, probably I'll try to give more in-depth thoughts on it, but I'm loving it so far, and it's given me an opportunity to experience something from a great developer in Naughty Dog. And then the other game I got to play was a game called Oregon Trail, and
Not Oregon.
not Oregon Trail, but Oregon Trail, and this was in the drop last week, and I bought it on the Vita, and I was like, you know what, it's $6, I'll give it a shot. So I downloaded it, and from the very outset, you can tell like it really wants to call your nostalgia back to the original Oregon Trail. So essentially, there's a zombie outbreak, and your goal is to get from one side of the country to the other. And you start off, you name the people on your team. So I had you guys as my team of people that we went
Did I
along
die of dysentery?
No. People do get dysentery, which is awesome. But it's very much like Oregon Trail in the sense of like you have to find resources, you have to manage your resources, and so there may be times where one of your people is hurt, but you're running low on med kits and you're X amount of away from a town, so you have to decide, well, I'm not going to do that. I got stuck for like a month in a place because my muffler broke on my car, and if your muffler's broken, then your car's louder and you attract more zombie activity. So I didn't have a muffler and I didn't have the resources to get it, and I was too sick to go scavenge for parts. So I had to wait around a trade post hoping that somebody would come by, and I was stuck for like 30 days just waiting. And so
That sounds so awesome.
I'm depleting my food resources. I'm doing all that sort of stuff. I really do think you would love it, Ben, because it is all about resource management and about going out and scavenging. Now,
When I get that blue Vita, I may have to go back and get it.
yeah, from a concept standpoint, it's really, really cool. And I was really young when Oregon Trail came out, but I remember playing it and not understanding a thing that was going on. But there are things about this game that really like try to harken you back to those moments. But from a gameplay standpoint, it's not fun at all. It's essentially
That's
a top
big build up for
it's essentially a top-down twin-stick shooter, but as you're aiming your weapon, you can't move. So, like, you go out scavenging for things, zombies start coming at you to try to get you, and if they get you, your scavenging days are over. You got to go back and heal up before you can go out again. But you have to stop every time you want to aim, and so I'm terrible at twin-stick shooters anyway, even when you can move. I loved Helldivers, but I was terrible at it because I'm just bad at that kind of game. So having the intensity of having to stop to aim my weapon just wasn't cutting it for me. And for me, it made it really, really hard to play. And so as the gameplay didn't really put its claws into me, and the real novelty of it, calling back to a lot of those Oregon Trail concepts, the game didn't have a ton of staying power with me. And it's a little bit of like the concern that I have when we talk about like PlayStation VR, or when we get to like when we talk about 2D platformers and stuff like that, that like the novelty of the experience can only carry it so far until you get to dig down to the core of the game and realize what's going to hold you to it. And for you, being a guy who's really into resource management, I think you can get by some of the flaws in the gameplay. But for me, a guy who really wants to enjoy the gameplay aspect of it, when I got down to the core that mattered to me and the nostalgia started to wear off, it was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. So I probably played for a couple hours and got done with it. But you get to choose how you track through, and there's risk reward. Like there's places where there's like nuclear fallout because they're nuking major cities that have been overrun, and you can try to cut through them. But if you get stuck there, then you get radiation poisoning and you start to die. So you can navigate around them, but then you use up resources going around.
Sounds so cool.
And it's really cool. I do think you'd like it, but for me, it just was not really something that I was into. My review in a word is almost. I was almost there. I really think if I could just move while I was aiming, I could overlook a lot of those gameplay issues. But that very thing just was like, I don't really want to mess with this anymore.
I've got to bring a correction to you.
What's that?
How old's your dad?
My dad is 60.
All right, so your dad was 16 when this game came out. So you were really young.
When Oregon Trail came out?
In 1971.
Oh, I just remember.
That's one of those
playing
things
it
like
when I
Looney
was-
Tunes where we think that they came out when we were kids, but actually they came out in like the 30s.
Yeah.
And the jokes are just still good because children apparently laugh at anything.
Right.
Yeah, just blatant racism.
On that note, that's not racism. That's ageism. Get on my level. With that note,
You're out of here.
I gotta go.
All right,
Birthday party.
Good.
Well,
Love you
Have
too.
fun.
Enjoy yourself. Enjoy your podcast. I will not be able to welcome you to the after party lounge.
I got you, man.
America.
I'll ham it up for you.
I bet you will.
All right.
I hate you're missing
Goodbye,
the lounge.
Seth.
You want some Big League Chew to take with you? You can't take this, but you can have a little bit out of here. Okay, I can't give you the pouch. Well, I guess it's
All right,
nothing, sir.
before we move on to our random question of the week,
gonna move.
You messaged me a story. You want to save it for the after party lounge?
We can do it next week even. It's not like it's a time-sensitive story.
All right.
So we'll just wait till next week because we're running low on time.
So let's move on to everybody's favorite segment, the random question of the week.
Random question of the week for the month for this week.
Wow. Hear that?
I'm scooting over here.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're a little off center now, but that's not a big deal.
It's okay. Oh yeah.
Is that great, Big League Chew?
Nah, it's just it's orange. They only had the
Oh,
original.
the original.
It's stupid.
I
know.
hate,
It's
I
so
hate
dumb.
bubblegum anyway. All right. So this is our last week of October. Very sad. Very, very sad. Halloween is coming up Saturday. Are you scaring kids?
I'm trying to decide. I want to. I probably am.
There we go. There's the Larry we know. We've been doing a month of horror questions for you, and I wanted to bring this one to you.
This feels cool right
I
here.
totally skipped a news story, but that's not a big deal.
I like sitting right here.
Do you? You like that?
It's nice. Can it touch you?
My random question for this week is, if you could bring any horror franchise into the gaming world, what would it be? And this kind of, I guess this is a good time to link it back to that story. So Supermassive Games, created Until Dawn. They're not working on any DLC. They came out in a Reddit Ask Me Anything. But they also indicated that they had already moved on to working on their next title and that they wanted to stick with not the story of Until Dawn, but with stories like Until Dawn, kind of playing on classic horror franchises. So my question to you is, what a horror franchise or horror trope or concept would you like to see make its way into a game? And if it's into the next Until Dawn-esque game, then that's fine too.
I've said this before for various questions that are similar to this, but Cabin in the Woods. And with the Until Dawn style, it's really a perfect franchise for it because if you haven't seen Cabin in the Woods, you should see it. It's just this crazy movie. Spoiler alert. Do we have a spoiler hat? I don't want to mess my hair up, though. Here. while I have this pin behind my ear, I'm spoiling Cabin in the Woods. And so it's your classic kids got to the cabin, they're going to get murdered, but you find out that there's this secret organization that every year they make sacrifices to these old gods, more or less, that are going to destroy the planet if they don't get their sacrifices. And so every year, all these different nations are trying to make the sacrifice, and Japan never fails. America hasn't had a failure in many years, but all of the nations fail, even Japan, and it comes down to this American thing. But so there's like this secret complex under the cabin and stuff. These kids have actually been lured there, and they've been messed with chemically to act in certain ways because they have to be offered in kind of a certain order, and they have to fall into certain tropes, certain archetypes. But the stipulation is they have to choose the way that they die, even if they don't realize it. And so once you get further into the movie, you realize that they've made these choices that determine what monster comes after them. But if they'd chosen things differently, different kinds of monsters would have come. So zombies killed them, but there was also this creepy guy with blades all in his head, and there's slasher guys and like big animal monsters. So that would be an incredible game with a lot of possibility. Just your choices determine what's going to come kill you.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, and that would be a really cool option because of the variety of monsters. Like in Until Dawn, there's a variety of ways that you can trip up and get killed. But for just the decisions you make to see what kind of monster it is that gets revealed, like the replay value is built into itself there because it's like, well, I know that this exists in the game, but I didn't get a chance to see that, so you go back and play it. So that'd be really cool. For me, kind of the horror arc that I would like to see tackled in the next Until Dawn game would be the family moving into a new house, which is kind of just a classic trope in horror in general, that like you uproot your life and move it somewhere else, and the fear of the unknown manifesting itself in some sort of spiritual activity or whatever. And Until Dawn was good because of the number of locales, the number of locations that it took place in. Like, you had the place that receives the cable cars, and then like you have the one cabin where everybody's staying at. Then you have the other cabin that the other couple's at. Like, there's a whole bunch of, and then you have like the mines and all that, and a bunch of different places. If they can condense that experience though, and give us that family dynamic where the relationships are built into one another, and you're having to choose like between father or son, like husband or son, or you're and playing into that, and then making it more claustrophobic where all of these things are happening on top of one another, and maybe just different people are at home at the time, and it doesn't take place over one night, but rather over a multitude of days, and maybe it's about trying to convince the other people in the house of the reality of the situation, because that's another big thing in those kinds of horror movies. And like, there are certain decisions I can make that get people to believe me faster, which get us working towards a solution faster. But there are other decisions that I can make that get people to be more skeptical, more grounded, and place more of a threat in life of like, this thing catches up to me, or this thing affects our family in a major way. And I think there's just a lot of things that can be, a lot of storylines that can be had if we limited ourselves to just 1,500 square feet of space in a home. So that would be mine. How about you?
Mine is the polar opposite of both of yours. I would love to see like a more comical side of this tackled. Ducker and Tail versus, or Dale and Tucker versus Evil. I can't remember the
Tucker
exact
and
name.
Dale versus
Tucker and Dale.
Ducker and Tail.
Ducker and Tail. Like where you're trying to like convince these kids that you're not evil, but they just keep killing themselves.
That's such a great movie. Is that still on Netflix?
Yes.
If you have never watched Tucker and Dale versus Evil, stop this stream right now and go watch it.
Watch it.
Right? That movie
Wait
is
till the
awesome.
After Party Lounge because it's going to be great. But then go watch it. That's when I saw it. Like, I heard you guys talking about it, and I was like, that sounds kind of good. So I went and watched it, and I could not stop laughing. And Nicole didn't get it. Like, she didn't understand how funny it was, because she was just like, they're killing themselves. It's not funny. I'm like, it's hilarious.
It just threw himself into the wood chipper.
It's the sheer, just the amount of irony in that, and that's my favorite kind of humor.
Well, and they're just like freaking out that these kids are just killing themselves. They think that they're committing suicide on purpose, and the kids are freaking out because they're trying to get to them. I don't know. It's a good mix of. It would be lighthearted horror. Like, it was just, I don't know. It was good. It's good. I like those things.
Awesome. All right, well, let's get out of here for the audio portion of the podcast, and but stick around if you're in the chat. Where we're going to go to the after party lounge where we interact with you more, and we're going to answer a question from Drew 1234567890123. So let's start with Ben. Go ahead.
I am on Twitter at Notre Hankins. You can find me there. You can also find me on PSN at WhoBombTrady, one word. You can find me at Xbox Live, WhoBombTrady, 3 words. I am starting my Tuesday night streams pretty soon. It'll be within the next 3 weeks. I know that's a while out, but I don't want to start super late for everybody. So most of those streams are going to be have part of the raid in them, but I'm going to try to do other things at the end of the stream that aren't just Destiny. So almost every Tuesday will probably be the raid early, and then another game at some point that is fairly new to everybody, so look forward to that. I don't have a fancy name yet for it. I'm sorry.
I'm Larry Hunt. That is my name.
I'm Larry Hunt. My name is Larry Hunt.
And I'm on Twitch and Twitter at Larry Hunt's Zombies. But on the Player 3 podcast Twitch, I will be streaming on Thursday nights horror games with Larry Hunt's Evil.
I'm Luke Croft. You can find me on Twitter at TK from Antioch. My stream is going to be on Friday nights, and I'll be doing either sports games or some sort of single-player thing. The problem is I suck at video games, and just in general. I'm good at sports games for the most part, but I play Uncharted. I die a lot, and I'm just playing on normal because I'm terrible at Metal Gear Solid. But I think I may play some Metal Gear Solid on Friday night when I stream. You can find us. We are the Player 3 Podcast. Find us on twitch.tv/Player3Podcast, youtube.com/Player3Podcast, iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher for all of the audio listeners out there. Leave us a review, a subscription, follow us, do all that stuff. Comment when you're in here in the chat because we love it. I hate that we don't get to interact more in the chat during the show, but After Party Lounge coming right at you. We are the Player 3 Podcast.
Player 3 Podcast!
P3P. Hello and welcome to the Player 3 Podcast After Party Lounge, where butt bugs do and forever will exist.
Forever and all eternity. Do you guys want some Big League Chew?
No, I'm good. I hate bubblegum.
Big League
I just
Chew?
hate gum.
For you? That is for you?
You just give me a scoop.
Well,
Whatever is an appropriate amount. I don't know.
Man. So, for the uninitiated, I'll explain to you how the After Party Lounge works.
Oh, goodness.
This is
I
our
love you.
opportunity to interact with you guys in the chat, so queue up your questions and all that sort of stuff. This is exclusive just for you guys over here on Twitch, but we also and on YouTube, but we don't put this in the audio. But one of us brings a topic to the table for the After Party Lounge. We talk about that, then we jump into your questions. This just gives you an opportunity to queue those up. Drew, 0123, all those numbers, we haven't forgotten about you. We're going to get to your question here in a moment. Ben, this is your After Party Lounge, which does not mean anywhere close to what you think it means. But go ahead.
All right, so I've tasked these gentlemen with a fun activity. They are to make a word, any word. It has to be a new word, though, to the English language. And you have to give me its meaning, and you have to use it in like a sentence, or to give the context of its meaning. So is that appropriate? You understand the rules?
Okay, I think I understand it. So
And then-
we are going to make a random sound. We are going to associate a definition with said sound,
If that's what
and
you
then
feel.
use said sound in a sentence.
A discernible word.
A discernible word.
Yes.
All right. Do we have to spell it?
Yes. You have to be able to spell it and use it in a sentence in a contextual way.
All right. Here we go. Melania.
Melania, okay.
Melania. M-E-L.
Sounds French.
M-E-L. Yeah, it's
French roots. Okay.
Its etymology. Its etymology begins in the region of Nice, over in France.
Nice.
Melania, and I will type it in the chat here. Melania is M-E-L-O-N-E-Y-E-A-U-X. Melania.
Melania.
Melania. All right.
Okay.
And this is
Does it mean what you told me it meant?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of it's an exclamatory
Right,
word.
okay,
You know,
yeah.
like it's not a verb.
put an
It's not really a noun. It is used exclusively with either a question mark with an exclamation point or exclamation point question mark exclamation point. All right, Malinier. This is the statement. This is the exclamatory statement you make when you have bought some fancy New York strip steaks for your friends, and one of those jerks requests that it be made well done.
Ugh.
So I will use it in a sentence. Dizzy's wife, Katie, asked Luke for her steak well done, to which Luke replied, Malinier, as he put her hand on the grill. Malinier. It's complete disapproval. You know, it can be transferred in other situations, but specifically for people who like their steak well done, which if that is you, get out.
Melanier.
We don't want you to be fans of Player 3 Podcast. We don't want you in the chat.
We still want you to be
unsubscribe.
friends.
Nope. We don't want you. All right. If you cook your steak well done, we do not want you.
We still
Right?
want you.
Thank you for the
My
follow, Oga Marella.
Yeah, it's
All right,
your turn.
Larry.
The exorbitant amount of
You have so much gum.
Blenarba.
Blenarba.
Blenarbla.
How do you spell that?
BLANARBLPA. The P is silent.
Blenarba.
What? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Take the P out.
No, leave the P. Leave the P. It's okay. It's different.
What language does this have its roots in?
Nothing. This is the state of having your mouth so full of gum no one can understand you. So
it's an onomatopoeia.
yes, Larry may as well have not been on the podcast because of Blenarba.
All right,
Cool.
Ben,
All
lay
right.
it on us.
All right. My word is slabchandered. And this word is a
How do you spell it?
okay, you spell it SLABCHANDEREND. Just ED, not END, I'm sorry.
Slabchandered. All right.
Slabchandered. This word means to be befuddled by a physical ailment. So, let's say like we got into an argument and an altercation
As always.
ensued,
Yes.
and you decided to hit me in the head with a pipe. I would say Ben was slabchandered at the fact that Luke had hit him in the head with a pipe.
So you were confused by the physical ailment.
Yep, of being hit in the head with a pipe.
You were actually not
Okay.
Correct. My word is also a homophone. There's a double meaning for my word. The second word that
Wait, doesn't homophone indicate that it's also spelled differently?
yes, it's spelled differently.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So it's slabchandered, but it is PSLABCHANDERED.
All right.
The P is silent. This slabchandered means to be surprised by a generous token. So let's say
That's the stupidest topic we've ever done.
let's say your wife comes home and she brought you a nice pumpkin cake, and you upstairs and you see her and you say, "What's in your hand?" And she says, "I got this nice pumpkin cake for you." You'd say, "Well, I'm just so slabchandered."
use both the words in the same sentence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Luke was slabchandered when Lauren brought him home a pumpkin cake, but as he dug his hand into the cake and ate it, he was slabchandered when she smacked him in the head with a pipe.
What if my wife hit me with a pipe? Why the domestic abuse?
Because
cake was
the
a
cake was for
distraction.
everybody else. It wasn't for you.
Oh, Lauren knows better than that
it
to
should
bring
have
a
been.
pumpkin
I should have
cake
made
in
the
the
cake
house.
poisoned. You were slabchandered when you realized the cake was poisoned.
Can I ask you guys a
Oh,
question?
foolish poison.
Does your wife do your wives ever hide food from you?
Sometimes.
No.
My wife hides food from me all the time. She denies it up and down, but she's like,
I was gonna make you guys do
I guess it's just us fat guys.
probably. I was gonna make you guys do your top 3 words, but I just wanted to tell you a word that I really like, and then we're gonna play a little short game, and then we'll do the topic whoever wants to do.
All right,
Okay.
go ahead.
All right. I found this word. It's
So
called
cue up your topics.
It's called spaghettification.
That is not a word. Mom
Spaghetti.
spaghetti. These weeks on spaghetti.
we're gonna
on
start-
Spaghetti.
we're gonna start this game with that word. So the way this game's gonna work is I'm gonna give you a word. You have to tell me what you think it means,
Uh-huh.
and then we'll keep score. And whoever has the most points at the end gets something cool. I'm not gonna tell you what the something cool is yet.
We're going to get some chandered by a generous token.
I hope the prize is more Big League Chew.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So spaghettification. What does it mean?
Who's going first? I think we need to alternate.
Let's rock, paper, scissors for
All right,
the
here we go.
first.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Ah! All right, so I will go second. I defer.
Oh, dreads. Being turned into thin noodle-like pieces.
Okay.
All right, say the word again.
Spaghettification.
Spaghettification. The process of going from respectable Italian to New Jersey Guido. Diz has notified me that is racist, and I apologize. Go ahead. What does it mean?
The actual. Actually, hold on.
Diz, you have to be the judge of who was closest. Hey, Diz, come sit in. We got a microphone for you, dude.
Let's hear what the definition is.
Spaghettification.
What does it actually mean?
Hold on, I gotta pull it up. It's an astrophysics term.
So I clearly win already.
Spaghettification is the vertical stretching and horizontal compressing of objects into long, thin shapes. In a very strong, non-homogeneous gravitational field, it is caused by extreme tidal forces, usually in a black hole.
This is terrible. Because I'm terrible at Boulder Dash. Because I just try to make up the most ridiculous thing.
Hey, you could be close.
So Larry gets a point?
All right, Larry gets a point.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dizzy. Oh, man.
All right. These are a little bit hard. These are actually a lot harder, so I'm going to have to, sound them out as I tell you. So
Mostly because you don't know how to say it.
Yes, pretty much. Your next word is verisimilitude.
What? Spell it.
It's verisimilitude.
What?
verisimilitude.
All right. Verisimilitude.
Verisimilitude.
All right. Since you went first on the last one,
I'm familiar with it, but I don't know what it is.
The allowing of an object to take on more than one use.
Ooh.
Okay.
Verisimilitude.
That was good.
Something that is close to the truth, but not quite there.
Ooh, this is you guys are close. Verisimilitude is the appearance of being true or real, and is something that we tend to all strive for in our daily lives.
That would be, Larry wins that. Yeah.
Larry got 2 points.
I'm good at figuring out words from phonemes.
Right. So 2-1. I'm changing the rules a little. 2-0. So
don't cheat me.
we're gonna do 2 at the end that are worth 2 points apiece. That way, if it's a big lead that you have, that he has a chance of coming back. Yeah. So next word is Brobdingnaahun.
Spell it.
B-R-O-B. Brobding, D-I-N-G. N-A-G-I-A-N. Nagian. Brobdingnagian.
All right.
I don't have a dang clue. This is an English word?
Yes.
Brobdingnagian.
You can ask me use it.
No. Don't worry about it. Because that was just too many context clues. Yeah. Go ahead.
We should have done lifelines where you have one use it in a sentence.
But then it helps the other person.
Yeah, you have to strategically do it.
A type of boat.
Type of boat. Brobdingnagian.
To be emboldened with righteous anger.
I don't know who's going to get this one. Brobdingnagian simply means huge or giant.
To be emboldened.
That's close. So yeah,
boats are huge.
2-1. 2-1. Not all of them. There's some little boats, little floaty boats. All right, we got just a few more. All right. Pendiculation.
Penicillin?
Huh?
Pendinculation. Liation.
Oh, it's
Pendiculatation.
it's a pandemic where everyone turns into Peter Dinklage.
It's Pendiculatation.
UA what?
It's Pendiculatation. Pendiculatation.
Pendiculation. Pendiculation.
Pendiculation.
Okay, this is it's my turn, right? It is the calculating of the sums of all things at once.
The expanding of a concept to cover multiple things that it didn't cover previously.
Wow! You ready? Yeah.
Pendiculation is something you've done. Pendiculation is something you've done many times in your life, and it's contagious. Even, it's the act of yawning.
That's the act of yawning.
Oh,
What was yours?
what was mine? Mine was the calculating of multiple sums at
Yours
one
was something from nothing to big, wasn't it?
The expansion of a term to cover things that it didn't previously cover. So I don't know.
I'd say no points, sir.
time. All right. I'm good with that. We were both equally very far away.
All right, we got 3 more.
All right. This is fun. Thank you, Ben.
You're welcome. Pulchritudinous.
Hey, please spell that so that we can say it without any questionable syllables in it.
Pulchritudinous.
Pulchritudinous.
Pulchritudinous. It's your turn.
Pulchritudinous.
Pulchritudinous.
This is an adjective describing something that is mushy.
Pulchritudinous is hyper-conservatism.
Hyper-conservative. Okay, I'm going to have to give a half point to Larry, because this is an adjective.
No.
No.
He's
It's
described an
clearly
adjective as well.
Yeah.
But it's
No.
not. It's an adjective, a 15-letter word adjective that describes a beauty. It means beauty.
Something mushy could be beautiful.
I shouldn't get a half point for saying that it was an adjective, though. That doesn't make sense.
That does kind of sound like an adjective, I guess. So no points awarded, I guess. 'Cause you,
I mean,
Well,
you said mushy. Can mushy be? Well, you're the ultimate judge.
This is
You
a
just-
judge.
yeah,
Which
this is
one's
a judge.
closer to
mushy
beautiful?
can be a descriptor of things like
What was Luke's answer again?
Hyper-conservatism.
hyper-conservative.
I think modesty is beautiful. Cover up the cleavage, ladies.
Cleveland.
The cleavage.
Steve Bull here.
For your wine.
You gave it to Larry. Okay. All right.
Just
What's
like
the score?
mushy things.
What's the score? 3 to
3 to
1.
1.
Beautiful.
All right.
1.
These next 2 are worth 2 points because they're our last 2.
All right.
All right.
Come back.
Antediluvian.
Antediluvian. Antediluvian.
It's Antediluvian.
Okay. Totally. Antediluvian.
Luvian.
Antediluvian. Antediluvian. It's my
Diluvian.
antediluvian. It is my turn here. Unable to be diluted by a solvent.
Oh wow.
Diluvian.
Antediluvian. Dead time. He's thinking, ladies and gentlemen. He's still thinking.
Coming after the state of chaos.
Wow, that's actually really close.
Dang it! I can't wait till he reads this definition, and it's not anywhere.
Well, I mean, contextual in context, it's kind of close. I mean,
Go
it's
ahead.
not. All right, so antediluvian means. Well, it's you might not expect. I'm going to read this whole thing because it's pretty good. You might not expect that there be a word that describes a period of time before the biblical flood, but the word antediluvian was coined in the 7th century when the Bible was interpreted as literal history. These days, however, antediluvian typically just means really, really, really old, often comically so.
Period before chaos.
Well, I was just thinking
After.
after chaos, so just like the biblical time before the flood's kind of after chaos. This is the sentence they use. Did you see the antediluvian phone she was carrying?
Okay. I think Larry gets that because his was about a period of time.
Yes, it was.
So he's up 5 to 1.
Oh, yeah,
So
it
he's
was, that
1.
was 2. Yeah.
He is 1, but there's still 1.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, okay, and this one's actually not bad. So we'll do superannuated
Super annutated?
or annuated. I'm sorry.
Annuated.
Super annuated.
Okay. It's your turn. Superannuated.
Adjusted too well. Too much. Adjusted too much.
Overcorrection.
This is kind of a trick question.
Superannuated is not a word.
Superannuated is a derivative from antediluvian. It's actually deriving from a medieval Latin word meaning superannuitus, meaning to be too old. Superannuated applies to anything that is too old to work or function.
Mm-hmm. Never mind. All those were me. So you win. Good job. What does he win?
You win the rest of this.
Is that really the
Yes.
Sweet.
All right.
You can choose to spend it in whatever capacity that you wish.
All right. That took a long time, but that was fun. So Milky513 knew that it meant meaning very old in age or ancient antediluvian. He says, the funny part is the reason why I know that is because I used to role play the game Vampire, and that's a very common term used in the role-playing game Vampire the Masquerade. And he says now that he knows that we know that very dark secret he has to destroy us. So. I want to talk about the Xbox One or PS4 question. I don't know if the guy's still in the chat or not, but it's an interesting question. And while we're answering this, understand that we just love video games, so we want to play on the thing that has the best. So there's no fanboyism here. So Larry, we're going to start with you because your answer is obvious.
Yeah, Xbox. And it's because although I may be wrong on this, but I feel like the PS4 has more exclusives. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
But Xbox has more exclusives that I actually care about. So that's it. And that's where most of my friends are at.
Yeah, and our whole stance on this thing is you go where your friends are and you go where the exclusives you want to play are. It's not about that. It's just a piece of plastic that's supposed to be working for you. And we turn it around too much where it's we're working for that box and we're going to fight tooth and nail over it, and it's whatever box serves you and your interest best. That's what you go with. I understand that PCs are the place to play if you want the best graphics and all that sort of stuff, but I like the convenience of having a console, so that's why I play on consoles. It's not about loyalism; it's just about what I prefer and enjoy. For me, I love the experience of playing on the PlayStation 4, but I feel like the Xbox is always evolving, constantly adapting. I love the new Xbox One experience. The preview program, just the fact that they listen. I like the exclusives better on the PlayStation, but I would say the Xbox One overall, just because the UI and because I think that's what differentiates it is the experience. PlayStation 4's UI is still really clunky to me. I don't like it. And that's from a PlayStation fanboy. Go ahead.
I think my favorite console is the PlayStation. I just don't play my Xbox really at all. And the only time I played it really was when when we got a game that I wanted to play with you guys. So I had to make myself buy games for my Xbox. I'm not a huge fan of the controller. And that's a big thing for me. I think the PlayStation controller is a lot better as far as just feel. It just feels a lot nicer to hold for an extended period of time. There's not really anything else with they're pretty comparable UI wise. I mean, now that Xbox has done their new operating system and stuff, everything's pretty comparable. You don't have Kinect functionality like you do with the Xbox, but I don't have that anyway, so I don't have that to factor in. So for me, it's PlayStation just because of that's
where you play.
That's where I play. Yeah.
Awesome.
But I have both, and I like both. So.
All right. Well, let's get out of here. You got to cook some dinner.
I do. I do.
Is your wife here yet?
She's not coming. She's very sick.
Oh, okay.
She was ralphing uncontrollably today. So let you guys all out there in technology land know.
Word. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in. And before we leave, as always, Seth's telephone number, 276. How did this start? Oh, Leanna.
Leanna said loves you like a burning flame of sun. But now you have competition because he is betrothed to someone else.
And you're never around anymore.
Leanna, you just...
All right.
I think you should stop.
Seth's telephone number is 276